All right, we're going to move to the we're going to move to local representatives, and I've got Ashley Thomas, Legislative and Planning Deputy for Council Member Marquise Dawson Harris. Marquise Harris Dawson. There you go, Marquise Harris Dawson. I've known Marquise for 27 years. I know better than that. Council Member CD8, and I can work this way that my first political job was working for Bob Farrell in this council in the late 50s. So, welcome to Southwest Montana.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And I will say, when I was a baby, my dad actually worked for you, Mr. Guerriero, a couple of decades ago. But I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to represent my boss, Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson. We got elected to office, and it's almost been a year, so we're very brand new. And my boss has a long track record, 20 years of working in South Los Angeles as a part of the Community Coalition. And he's focused on communities of color, poor communities in South LA for his whole career. So when we got into the council office and the council president assigned us to be the chair of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee, my boss was really excited. Number one, to continue the legacy of the work that he's done in communities of color and poor communities in South Los Angeles, but also to learn more about homelessness. It's not something that he has an expertise in. So we went about working on homelessness in two separate ways. So the first way was about how we do research internally to understand homelessness. So I was brought on board to write a position paper on behalf of the council member on homelessness, particularly in South Los Angeles, because homelessness looks different in different parts of the city. It looks different with different populations. And then we also, as the chair of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee, really tried to focus on how the city itself would strategize, would engage in the increasing level of homelessness in the city. And for one of the first times that we've seen in the city of Los Angeles, homelessness isn't a Skid Row problem. It really was never a Skid Row problem, but the story, the narrative we've seen about homelessness is that homelessness only happens in Skid Row and maybe in Venice. But now we see homelessness in every part of the city. And what that means is that we have an opportunity. All eyes are on the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles has the highest number of homeless folks that actually sleep on the streets in the country. There are more homeless folks on the street in Los Angeles than any other place in the country. And so that's a unique opportunity that we had to really make a strategic difference. So that local internal learning that we did as an office brought about a couple of things that we really wanted to focus on. And the biggest one of that is understanding and talking about and being honest about the racial impacts of homelessness. So African Americans make up 9% of Los Angeles, and they make up 47% of the homeless population. 9%, 47%. And it's not something that anyone is talking about at all. The face of homelessness, particularly in South LA and Skid Row, is a black one, and that we wanted to be honest about those racial implications, particularly so we can add solutions that impact the black community in particular. So we wanted to really talk about the ways that institutionalized racism and economic inequality combine to make black folks much more vulnerable to homelessness and poverty than other communities. Now that doesn't mean that all homeless folks are black folks, but we do know that they are more vulnerable, and so we wanted to come up with some particular solutions to target those folks. Citywide, we put out a citywide strategy plan the same day as the county did. We've been working hand in hand, step by step with the county in order to create a combined solution so that we can actually really harness the efforts of both the city and the county. The city is looking for ways that we can create designated revenue. I think the mayor's office, some of the mayor's office didn't make it today, but they just put out a budget that said that they were going to designate $137 million for homelessness from the city of Los Angeles alone. That in combination with the work that Supervisor Martha Lee Thomas has done to really invest in homelessness and invest in affordable housing, I think will push us forward, will catapult us forward to the solutions that we need, but we're not there yet. We're not at the level that we need to be. We need to do this kind of work for the next 10 years, really, to get us to the place where we're actually changing homelessness in the city of Los Angeles. So, you know, we as the council office and the city of Los Angeles, we're focused on this. This is something we talk about, we do every single day. And we're hoping to continue to go to events like this, to engage with folks in dialogue, and to be able to lift up those stories, to lift up the experiences of homeless folks, and to find real solutions. And the other piece that we want to focus on is public policy. So as a political office, as policymakers, it's our job to create good, strong, solid policy that's going to well outlast us, right? So right now, the explosion of homelessness is really about, has really been impacted by this intentional policy decisions made at every level of government up until now. So thinking about the end of the era of jobs programs, welfare reform, the prison industrial complex, all of these things have made it so that there's a lack of affordable housing. The folks who go to the prison system don't have a second opportunity to come back and get a job and make something of themselves. That those folks that are suffering from mental health issues don't have public mental health care to take care of them. All of these policy decisions that have been made are impacting and expanding homelessness. And so now it's our job, it's our opportunity as public servants, as policymakers, to make a shift and to really make intentional policy choices that will actually increase prosperity, that will actually increase the middle class, that will support and care for and love for our poor, neighbors, our family members who have fallen on hard times and need just an opportunity, a hand to be able to make it back, to be able to find permanent housing, to be able to continue to be strong members of our community. And so we're really happy to be here, really lucky for the opportunity to be working on such an obviously important issue. And I have cards if you all want to talk to us about what we're doing on the city level, and thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you today.
So Ashley, you started your comments with something I want to reflect on openly for the students who are here. Raise your hand if you're a Los Angeles County. Or alumni. Yeah, now raise your hand if you've been asked to write a paper, a position paper, in a class. Don't raise your hand because I know some of you have written position papers. And you see how they're now used in the real world. So they're not a figment of some professor's imagination or just a writing exercise. They are a tool by which we build data that we then can enact appropriate public policy. So the next time you're asked to write a paper, take it quite seriously. It's a skill set and a tool that may help you one day get gainfully employed. It's because you know how to write. All right, that was the first time. All right. Any questions on the councilperson's office? Sir, we don't have a mic, speak loud.
My question is, first is this. We'll never solve homelessness until everybody agrees to begin to pay taxes again. I'm just going to keep that straight up, okay? You will never have any municipal job, city, county, state, or federal, till we all agree to pay taxes again.
Is there a question there?
Yeah, here comes the question. What is your committee, mayor, congressman, council members, what are you going to do first, especially in California, to repeal Prop 13? Secondly, what are you going to do to get rid of President Bush's tax cuts to the rich? Because until they start paying their fair share, we can all go home.
This is actually a fabulous question that I don't know that I can answer. I think Proposition 13, but how many folks know about Proposition 13 in the state of California? A lot of folks do. So Proposition 13 fundamentally changed the way that revenue was allocated. It has decimated our public education system. It has made it impossible for us to really substantially invest in social services in the state of California. And it has really frozen our ability to enact progressive policy at the state level. Now, I work at the city level. So our role at the city level is we're not policymakers at the state or the federal level. But we are beneficiaries, in the most negative sense of the word, of the legacy of Proposition 13. And unfortunately, we can only work with what we have. So when it comes specifically to homelessness, I know the representative from the county has talked about revenue increasing, of the millionaire's tax that they've been looking at. We at the city are also evaluating a designated revenue source to see how we can invest in homelessness. But I think until there's a statewide movement from progressive folks to overturn Prop 13 or modify it, because really Proposition 13 also supported a lot of homeowners to keep them in their homes. So unless we modify Proposition 13, our revenue source is really frozen. But we can do things on the local level, just like we did with transportation. We taxed ourselves to be able to have this deep investment in public transportation. What we see right now is folks willing to tax themselves and to tax the wealthy in order to invest in poverty, in order to invest in those that are homeless, in order to move to a solution. So I think we have to take advantage of the opportunity that we have given the current context that we have.
The question, with all due respect, was not for you, it was for the people in the audience. I wanted them to think about it, because until we solve this problem, we're gonna always be grasping at straws until we put the rich back on the hook to make them pay their fair share. That's the issue I'm trying to drive here when I said earlier to the lady in the county, prevention. I believe in inoculation. That's what unions do. We inoculate. You can solve the disease. I want to keep her from being infected when she's 17 so she doesn't end there. As long as we allow the rich a pass and we continue to support these rules that now let them off, we will never solve these conditions that we're asking about.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you very much, and thank the councilman for being a part of our I didn't do something earlier and I need to do it now. Well, the members of the committee that planned today's activity, please stand. If you're on the committee, please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Has Stephanie Cohen, Elisa Orduna,